Hey guys, welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about watches. This isn't necessarily a review video. This is just things that I've noticed as an amateur cyclist. Let's dive into it. We'll start by talking about these analog watches here, these dress watches. They look stunning. They make you stand out in a crowd. They look really good when you're wearing a suit. But I think on a bicycle, they're not the right thing to wear. I say that because I've never seen it in person, but I've definitely heard the horror stories of someone who's wearing a watch like this and has crashed and it's hurt their arm. It's perhaps degloved their arm. Again, they look really cool, but they're quite heavy and they don't record things like heart rate. They don't record, GPS or speed or anything like that. They just look cool. Keep them for when you're wearing your suit. Next, we can talk about smartwatches. We can talk about things like an Apple Watch or perhaps like a Garmin. An Apple Watch is brilliant if you wanted to have the equivalent of a phone on your wrist. You can see things like your emails coming through. You can, send your text messages. You can record maybe on Strava or your different health activities, but it's not quite as accurate or as robust as what a Garmin would be. A Garmin wristwatch is perfect if you're doing strenuous activity and you're really sort of working hard towards that athletics lifestyle, I suppose. It can track everything a little bit more in depth than what a Apple Watch could. It can track your sleep, you can start and stop activities, it can take all the abuse that a typical watch wouldn't have, but I suppose an athletic watch would. The battery life can also last for days, whereas the Apple Watch doesn't quite last that long. But again, slightly different features for slightly different products. If you have an Apple phone, an Apple Watch might be nice, but if you wanted more in-depth data about the activity that you've done, a Garmin might be the way to look. Something that I've found with these Garmin watches and with these Apple Watches here is that personally, I find it very frustrating when I get lots of notifications that come in. It takes my mind off of whatever I'm working on. As I'm working throughout the day, regardless of whether I'm in an activity or not, if I'm sitting down replying to emails, for example, and my watch is buzzing the whole time, I find it quite distracting and I keep looking down instead of just focusing on the task at hand. So again, not necessarily a negative, but it's something that I've found as being a negative, is that there's so many notifications. I know that there's someone out there that's gonna tell me that I can turn the notifications off. Yes, you're absolutely right. Nonetheless, I'll look down and I'll see the time and it might say, 12:40 or something like that. And then I think, oh, I'm 10 minutes into this task rather than just thinking about doing the task. So for that reason, and that reason alone, I've jumped across to trying out a Whoop. This isn't like a sponsored video or anything like that. I just personally like the Whoop. I like how it can track all the similar things as what the Garmin can without having a screen. So I don't get notifications. It still tracks my sleep. It still tracks my strain and my stress, my recovery, my heart rate variability, all of the same things that the Garmin and the Apple Watch. But again, I don't get the notifications. And that is my main reason for using the Whoop. And I kind of forget that I'm wearing it because it's so incredibly lightweight. With all those positive things being said, it can't track an activity as well as a Garmin. A Garmin, or in general one of these wristwatches here, is a far more accurate and can record GPS and all these amazing things. The Whoop cannot, but again, my reason for getting it is that I don't have the notifications that come through and distract me when I need to work. Because the Whoop doesn't have a screen, it has an app for your phone instead. And this app can tell you different things like sleep, recovery, and strain. It can tell you if you're having enough sleep or if you're not sleeping enough, which it seems to always tell you that you're not sleeping enough, but it gives you in-depth information into all the different things you're doing. I can see here that as I scroll down, I did an activity today, nice and early as well, and I went for a run and it said it gave me a 10.8 strain. Being the fact that the Whoop does not have the GPS built into it, like what the Garmin's or the Apple Watch have, it doesn't say how far I ran. It tells me that I was running from 5:10 until 5:35, so it was a 25-minute run. It says how difficult it was, but it doesn't say where I was or how far I went. Not that that's necessarily a negative as such, but I suppose that's something that the Whoop misses out on that these other smartwatches have here. So I can click on that particular activity there that we did this morning, and I can see how my heart rate was tracking between it. I can see that I spent most of it in zone 4, 14 minutes and 26 seconds of it, but it can tell me all these different things that I might need to know. And then even we've got calories, we've got average heart rate, max heart rate, there you go, 25 minutes and 29 seconds. Not a big workout, but I mean, I did something. And that's kind of all that I wanted to know from the Whoop. So I've found the Whoop to be excellent. It records everything that I want to know without distracting me all throughout the day. While we're on the topic of GPS tracking devices, the wristwatches are amazing. However, a possible downside for a cyclist is that you can't see the speed that you're going and the analytics while you're riding. That's where a head unit can come in handy. We can look at heaps of different brands out there. This one happens to be a Brighton, and we can mount that onto the handlebars of the bike so we can see our speed, our distance, the time of day, any different numbers that you'd like to know while you're riding. They're also incredibly accurate. You can pair them up with a heart rate monitor, whether it's a chest mounted one or a bicep mounted one. You can see, like I said, distance, time of day, all these different things here. Really common for cyclists. The cool thing about these wristwatches is that you can also use them while you're doing your other activities. You know, you're running or you're swimming or your Pilates or whatever it is you're doing. But the head units here are pretty specific for just your bicycle. That could be a positive or a negative depending on what you need to use it for. Thanks for watching. I hope you've learned a couple of different things about potential wearable items when you're riding your bike. Again, this isn't any type of review. This is just my opinion on different things. If you'd like a more in-depth review on any of these products or the other thousands of ones that are out there, you can check out another YouTube channel called DC Rainmaker. They do amazing reviews on all different types of products like this. Otherwise, I'm going to say thank you for watching. I hope you've learned something. We'll see you next time.